Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 6, Two of One, was only 38 minutes long!
Yeah, that's something we noticed is... So, like, the first episode of this season was almost an hour. I think it was like 58 minutes or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And then, like, the second episode was like 48, and then like 46 and 45. These episodes, as they're going along, are getting shorter in running time. My guess is because they're running out of material to make these things. Because they're getting progressively worse. Not only worse, but, like, there's less going on. So it's interesting. Like, what is next week going to be, like 20 minutes?
We can only hope.
Yeah.
So, anyway, last week on Star Trek Picard, it started out with, well, Picard lying on the ground and blood dripping from the side of his mouth. Then it starts out by saying that 34 minutes earlier. I guess, from my perspective, these people can't even tell a linear story correctly. Or competently, maybe I should say. So why in the hell would they do this flashbacky crap and just make it even more complicated and infinitely worse storytelling than they had before? I just don't even understand what they're thinking. Aside from they think they're far more clever than they actually are.
I think it's desperation. I think they're reaching out to any way of making television. Because this episode, for the second week in a row, is directed by Jonathan Frakes. And this episode, as far as flow, I didn't think was nearly as good as last week's. I'm not sure how good he is at telling flashback stories. But I just think they're desperate. They're trying everything they possibly can and throwing it on the screen and trying to argue that it's complicated. We're doing layered storytelling when they're just desperate.
So, well, JeanLuc was on the ground, unconscious, with blood dribbling from his lips. There was this montage flashback going on in his brain of his childhood. It looked like some sort of friggin' nightmare, and it appeared like his mother was getting attacked, and it was just all convoluted, and it just seemed like just more pretentious crap. I had zero interest in it. This was a painful episode to watch, even if it was the shortest one of the season so far. Pretty much not much happened other than... Well, I'll just start at the beginning, I guess, which is sort of hard because it was told out of order.
I mean, I will point out the one thing that was worth watching this episode for. There was 2 moments of stupidity, one with Agnes and one with Picard and Seung. When you find out what happened, why Picard's on the ground, it is one of the stupidest, hilarious things that I've ever seen in my life. And obviously Molly has to tell the story first, but I'm just pointing out to you, there's 2 moments of stupidity in this episode that I guess by themselves are worth watching on YouTube for just laughs because they are so hilarious.
I'll give you that. So it starts out at the gala because that's where the story actually logically starts. And JeanLuc is talking to Talon, which is actually her name, not Tala, like I thought it was. Irish accent on that actress. I guess it just got me last week.
Like it even matters.
I know. And she's basically questioning him about his feelings for Laris, and that was just ridiculous. So it's just more of the feelings show. We see Agnes and her invisible friend, the Borg Queen. Agnes is sitting there, handcuffed to the chairs because she's been taken into security because she needs to put their identities into the computer. She has some sort of device on her, I guess, which she uses to knock out security. But then she's still handcuffed to the chair, and she's trying to move the chairs closer to where security is sitting, now knocked out because she needs the key to uncuff herself. And the Borg Queen is, of course, talking to her in her head.
Well, during all this, there's some stupid time-sensitive thing where Picard and the rest of the group are like getting ready to enter the security area, and so Agnes has to, as quickly as she can, get to that console to put in their new identities.
Yeah, it was almost like, am I watching 24 or am I watching Star Trek? Because they had all of this forced drama with this time clock kind of bullshit. I mean, there wasn't a clock on the screen, but the drama was upped by the fact that they're standing there at security, and security's trying to run their documentation, and their names aren't coming up.
Well, it was Rios, I think they were...
It was Rios in particular.
He was pretending he was a doctor or something.
Yeah.
And, hey, it didn't scan in. We'll try it again.
Yeah.
And then Picard's got his little whatever communication device is inside his ear or wherever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Agnes, hurry up, Agnes, we're out of time.
So Agnes, she is sucking basically on her own, and the Borg Queen is like, I can help you. So Agnes is finally like, okay, fine, you can help me. So she tells her to just, I don't know,
like let go so that she could take over her body for a moment.
I don't know. So she just uses brute force to get the handcuffs off. Like, I don't even know how that would work, but whatever.
All I can guess is and I don't even want to make up any stories for this horrible series. Picard has now turned horrible. It started that way last week where it was horrible and it's continuing. I'm guessing she got the Borg Queen, because again, remember, the Borg Queen's not real anymore. She was killed and her essence is inside Agnes. And this is Battlestar Galactica, Baltar, and Six. They're just doing the same thing they did in Battlestar Galactica, but somehow, like some adrenaline or something happened, and she just broke this handcuff off the chair.
Oh yeah, because the Borg Queen keeps talking about her hormones, Agnes's hormones, how she needs endorphins and just how great it feels to have these endorphins and shit like that. I mean, it just, ugh. But I mean, it turns out at the end she needed these to take over Agnes's body, which is ridiculous, but whatever. Stupid. Yeah, because I mean, we saw her inject her nanites or whatever in the previous episode. So, again, this is something new that they seem to be adding in there for effect, I guess. Just bad storytelling. Even Jonathan Frakes directing couldn't save this god-awful show. So, anyway, Agnes is free now. She uploads the IDs just in the nick of time. So, Rios, Picard, and the rest of the crew managed to get into the gala. And then, of course, we've got another friggin' flashback. Or flash forward, rather. To Picard, unconscious, having those stupid flashbacks to his childhood. And, this is apparently... It looks like he's in the hospital or something. Turns out later it's that clinic where Rios was, 3 episodes ago. Which is what I figured, that he'd go running to his doctor friend for help. Which he does. But anyways, I'll get to that in a second. But the reality is, I don't understand what kind of android JeanLuc Picard is. I mean, he's got blood running from his mouth. After, well, I'll get to that in a second.
He's a Cylon.
Yeah.
I mean, in season 1, when they explained that android body that was being built for him, I got the impression that it still wasn't 100% Cylon organic stuff. But it appears to be that now. I don't understand how this is even... I don't understand. I mean, to me, it feels like they're ripping off Battlestar Galactica. You've already got the Six and Baltar stuff going on, and now Picard's body is indistinguishable from a human, except when the paddles to resuscitate him shoot the electric back the other direction and blow out her paddle system, which was stupid. That doctor at the clinic, it was stupid. This whole episode went downhill stupid right after it began. That was the high point of the episode, and it only went downhill into stupidity from there.
Yeah, because really all that matters is there was a bunch of cringy crap. At one point, you see Picard talking to Talon. The way her hair is falling over her ear, it makes it look like a Romulan ear. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I kind of feel that it was. I don't know. It's more of the feelings show. I'm just, ugh. They're
just throwing everything at the screen and hoping something lands with the audience. They are that desperate. Between Picard and the Strange New Worlds coming up, this is the end of Secret Hideout if they don't get these two things right, because Discovery's already toast. That's a toast show. So they've got to get Picard right, which at the first episode or two we thought maybe they learned a lesson. Nope. And now it's just going into stupidity. It's hard to watch. Because I'm actually a human being with empathy, I almost feel a shared embarrassment for what these people that are writing this show and the actors that are doing this. I feel embarrassed for them. I have some sort of empathy that's kicking in, and I feel embarrassed that they're in public embarrassing themselves like this.
There's dialogue between Agnes and the Borg Queen, and that was cringy. And there's dialogue between Raffi and Rios, and that was cringy, because he just loves his real cigar and the real matches, and he just seems so happy. And of course, Raffi's like, oh, it's that doctor friend of yours, isn't it? So Raffi, she imagines she sees Elnor at the gala, so there's more of that crap.
So now we've got two people imagining friends with them. We've got Agnes with the Borg Queen, and now we had Rafi imagining Elnor just being... It's like, okay, if one's not good enough, let's have two people imagine a secret friend.
Yeah, so then there's weird dialogue between Picard and Talon. Yeah, Talon's been looking after Renee for 24 years, but she's never met her. Jean-Luc telling Talon that she needs to let go, and it sounded a lot like when a parent can't let go of their adult child to allow them to live their lives, just trying to keep them a child forever kind of crap. But again, maybe if we'd seen some sort of, I don't know, anything before the previous episode of Talon keeping an eye on Renee, maybe that would have meant something, but we didn't. So it's weird that they don't actually show you anything as far as these relationships go. They just tell you all this stuff and you're supposed to accept it.
Imagine instead of wasting 2 to 3 episodes on that ridiculous ice story, they actually use that to start developing how characters relate to each other. They could have developed that relationship you just mentioned between Renee Picard and the non-Romulan Gary 7 type lady.
Yeah.
They could have done that because they had plenty of time to do that, but they added this ice filler for like 3 episodes that was completely irrelevant to the arc here.
Yep. And of course, Picard, Jean-Luc is trying to get in touch with Agnes, and apparently she'd turned off her earpiece. So Rios finds her at the bar. Of course, she has the Borg Queen talking to her in her head, and the Borg Queen takes over for a second and grabs Rios and kisses him real hard on the mouth.
This reminds me of when Baltar and Six was getting, at the early episodes of Battlestar Galactica, Ronald D. Moore, when she was getting overly amorous with him when she was inside his head, because, they had a sexual relationship when she was a real entity.
Yeah.
But this just reminded me when she was doing all these weird things with Agnes and trying to get Agnes and Rios together, doing like these inappropriate, not sexual in this case, but like things you shouldn't be doing. This just reminded me of like when Six was trying to get all seductively and like moving her leg around Baltar, grabbing his leg or something, and he was getting all uncomfortable because they couldn't figure out why he was acting a certain way.
Well, it's because they didn't see her there, because she wasn't.
But again, that red dress, this is ripping off Battlestar Galactica, Baltar, and Six. This is ripping it off. Before it was like, well, maybe. No, there's no maybe. They're ripping off an idea from Battlestar Galactica.
Well, and again, this is, I guess, due to the Borg Queen needing those endorphins to take over Agnes's body, which again, whatever. Then, of course, Dr. Seung shows up at the party. He accosts Jean-Luc. Somehow Seung has managed to buy his way onto the Europa board, and he's going to have Jean-Luc thrown out of the party because he doesn't want him interfering with Renee, because Q has put him up to this.
It's funny because when this was happening, it didn't happen, but like you were saying, oh my God, they're going to beat up a 90-year-old man in the alley somewhere. We thought that's why Picard was laying down in those, at the beginning of the episode when we flash back. That's what Molly thought. Oh, they're going to beat up this 90-year-old man. That's not what happened, but at the time, there was sort of an LOL because these security guys were all looking at him, and we thought he was going to get his ass kicked in the alley, beating up a 90-year-old man. Didn't happen. What did happen was just as stupid, though.
Well, I don't know. If it had been Brent Spiner as Dr. Seung and obviously Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard, if they'd been duking it out in the alley, I think I would have actually enjoyed watching that because, for all the wrong reasons, I'll admit, but I would have enjoyed watching that.
What really happened wasn't that far away from that.
No, it wasn't. So anyways, Seung is, he's got security covering all the exits because he's trying to have Jean-Luc thrown out of the party. So the Borg Queen takes it upon herself to turn all the lights out at the party. That's when Agnes does her musical number. I think it was Pat Benatar.
And that is one of the 2 cringy things that happened in this episode. It was funny for all the wrong reasons. It was cringy. I honestly felt embarrassed for the actress who was doing this. It was that cringy.
I'll admit, though, if that was actually her singing, then good for her. Because I think
the way it was done, it made little sense in this story to be... That was supposed to be the distraction.
Yeah. Was
her singing that Pat Benatar song.
Exactly. So it's a shame that they didn't just pump up the cheese to the nth degree in
like
this
we
show.
wanted at the beginning.
Because it could have been fantastic if they'd done that.
Yep, because this scene and the way Picard gets taken down later, if those would have been in a sea of cheese for all season, this could have worked as a really cheesy show.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they took this shit way too seriously, and it just comes off as stupid.
I was embarrassed for the actress. Not that she couldn't sing. If that was her voice, it's not that she was singing badly. It's the context that she was singing was embarrassing. This was an embarrassing thing that they were doing. I felt some shame for everybody associated with that scene because they practiced that scene.
Oh, yeah.
And they decided, let's go forward with this anyway.
Well, I think it was my mother sitting there saying, how did the band know to play that song?
Yeah. And they just kept playing along while she's doing this distraction. Instead of everybody just being shocked about, well, what's this crazy person doing singing? No, the band was playing along with the song.
Yeah.
So, it was so embarrassing the way it was done.
Because even now, good luck finding a band that would just automatically know how to play that Benatar song at that particular speed and arrangement.
It was so embarrassing.
And this is supposed to be in 2024, so 2 years from now. I just
even now, and then you had 2 years on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't. They wouldn't work that way. Sorry, no. Bad writing. So while this is going on, JeanLuc finds Renee. She has decided she's not going to go through with the mission, and so he's talking to her and telling her how she reminds him of his mother, and he manages to talk her into going back into the party to go into quarantine and fulfill her mission.
That dialogue between those two, I'm not going to say it was 100%. Yeah, that felt like JeanLuc Picard, but at least it was close to a JeanLuc Picard type speech or type interaction with a person.
Yeah, well, again, it's like this show is a schizophrenic mess. I don't know how many people actually wrote the story, the arc, whatever, for this season, but it's like you have too many cooks in the kitchen and they wreck your soup. This is too many writers in the writer's room, and you get this Frankenstein's monster of a story, and it's
cheese,
terrible.
Stupidity, embarrassment. Then there was this talk between Picard and Renee, JeanLuc and Renee, and it was actually, I'm not going to say it was a great speech or talk, but it felt like this could be JeanLuc Picard talking.
It was another one of those moments where what this show could have been shows through. The tragedy of the whole thing just comes down on you all over again, because this show, it could have been good if they had written better. But they didn't. It's garbage because it's shitty writing.
This show is garbage. I was hesitant to call it garbage at the beginning of this season, but after 2 episodes like we've been sitting through, this show is garbage. It is on the same level as Star Trek Discovery, and I do not take any pleasure in saying that.
Yeah. So JeanLuc talks Renee into going back into the party, and they're on their way in, and that's when Dr. Seung comes in his car, and he's aiming at them, and JeanLuc pushes Renee out of the way, and Seung takes out JeanLuc with his car,
and the way
he just keeps driving.
And the way it was done, like Brent Spiner in the car, like he was making this real kind of shitty.
Oh, it was great. Oh my God.
Like B actor. Because again, Brent is really good at playing these character actors, so he was hamming it up to the nth degree.
Oh, it was fantastic.
This was a purposeful thing. And he had this look on his face when he was driving the car and gunning it and gonna run over JeanLuc Picard. It was hilarious. I was laughing so hard after it happened. And then after he hit him, he was driving away and he still had a bizarre look on his face. Brent was playing this up like he was hamming it up big time. It was hilarious. I laughed really, really hard.
Yeah, it just goes to show Brent Spiner can still act. Yeah, it's reminiscent, for me anyway, of those episodes where he got to play Lore instead of Data.
Yep.
Because this version of this particular Dr. Seung seems to have a lot in common with Lore as far as his malice and just the kind of crazy behavior that comes along with that. This guy is like unhinged, and Brent Spiner is doing a great job of portraying
it.
That.
Was hilarious. If somebody ever stitches together that scene or find it on YouTube, That's worth watching because it is hilarious. It was not intended to be hilarious, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. But I love B movies. I love the Asylum films.
That whole scene I was like enjoying. It was so ridiculously cheesy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that whole running down Picard scene. It was hilarious. Like, that was enjoyable. I would actually recommend some people to watch that part. It was hilarious.
I'm sure somebody's going to take that clip and put it on YouTube. So yeah, that should be easy to find. So anyway, after that happens, obviously they take JeanLuc to that clinic where Rios was taken care of by that doctor, and she's there, and they use a defibrillator on him, and he shorts the whole thing out, and she's like, what the hell are you people? And I mean, just like, oh god. But anyway, JeanLuc is in a coma at this point. He is trapped in his childhood, apparently, in his brain, and we keep seeing his mother and some sort of weird violent situation. Of course, Talon, she wants to do some sort of mind meld on him. I don't even understand.
Well, it was funny too, because when she showed up to this clinic, or they showed up to the clinic, and I guess somehow talked her into helping Picard. So she's a doctor. Remember, this is a doctor. So what she says is what he's like, unconscious and unresponsive. Mm-hmm. I gotta leave. I gotta pick up my kid or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a patient you just said was in an iffy situation, and you're going to leave to pick up your kid.
Yeah, his heart was all screwed up, and she had to use the defibrillator on him, and he's in a coma, and she's just going to leave him there with these people. I mean, the whole situation
Open access to her clinic, too. Yeah, I assume she has drugs there.
You'd think.
These are people she met once. She met Rios once.
And we didn't even get a scene where she's like, how did you escape from ice? Because that would have been a good question.
No, you're going to come in here. We don't see this. We've got this old man that's been run over by a car. He blew up my little heart thing. And then I got to pick up my kid. But I'm going to leave. You guys just, take care of yourselves.
Well, her kid was going to wake up. So apparently he's sleeping home alone.
A doctor should be prepared to get a babysitter to take care of her kid because she has a patient that's in peril right here.
Yeah, so that was utterly bizarre. Going into JeanLuc's subconscious or wherever he's trapped, you mind meld or whatever. If anybody has seen season 1 of Doom Patrol, it reminded me so much of the episode where Cliff is able to go into Jane's underground and find Jane.
We laughed
amidst her other personalities.
We laughed when they did that because that's exactly what you said. You said, what? So she's going to go into Picard's underground? And I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah. And again, that episode of the Venture Brothers.
With the Rusty.
With the Rusty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing in this episode that reminded me of the Venture Brothers, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So Rafi didn't want this to happen, but then she says, how much worse could it get? So she's like, yeah, fine. And then at the end, Agnes is like, you can tell the Borg Queen's got her. So I don't know what she's about to go off and do. So that ought to be real good. One of the best parts of this whole thing is Dr. Seung's daughter, Corie, whatever her name is. I don't even know what her name is.
Soji lookalike? Yeah,
the Soji lookalike. She apparently finally decided to Google her dad. What she finds is, that he's lost his license and he's been doing all these bizarre experiments on people. And then she finds these videos of him and photographs of him with other little girls. And she's like, I don't remember that. Well, it turns out she's had like all of these sisters that died. And she's like the last one. And it's just so creepy because there's this video. It's him basically saying he's going to do whatever it takes to keep this one alive.
And as those videos went on, he was like, and again, this is much like when he ran over Picard.
Oh my God.
Well, that one didn't work out okay. I mean, as it went on, he was showing less and less empathy for the screw-ups he was doing. What that reminded me of, and again, if you're not familiar with the series, you're not going to get this reference. The Venture Brothers, that Adult Swim cartoon, the concept is that the dad, he has two sons.
Well, I don't know. I mean, spoiler alert, if you want to watch the Venture Brothers and not know what's going to happen.
Yep.
If you don't want to know, if you want to watch Venture Brothers and you don't want spoilers, stop listening to us right now because we're about to spoil something that you wouldn't find out till season 2.
Right.
So anyways, shut this off now if you don't want to know. If you already know or you just don't care, keep listening.
So Dr. Venture has these 2 sons. These 2, he doesn't seem to care much about these kids. He's like, they're my sons, but he puts them in danger a lot. And for a lot of the first season of that, you're like, man, that's a horrible parent.
Well, it's like a Johnny Quest spinoff, takeoff, whatever. Yeah.
And then what you find out is that he has a whole warehouse full of clones of these 2 that when they die, he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and says, get a new slug out and we'll get them going. That's what this, as those videos she was opening were going on, and Dr. Seung was just getting all nonchalant about, I killed off another one.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad, gosh darn it. It felt like Dr. Thaddeus Venture when Hank and Dean have an iteration of dying, and it's like, well, grab their shirts and let's get the new slugs out and let's get a new set of them going. That's what this felt like.
Well, yeah.
And I was laughing as she was going through those videos.
Yeah, because
Spiner, again, was kind of hamming it up again in those videos.
It was fantastic. It really was, just the creepiness of it all. But it's kind of like, girlfriend, why didn't you Google your dad before now? I mean, what is wrong with you?
She's Googling and seeing all these horrible things about him. And I mean, that was hilarious too. Again, I don't think they were trying to make this funny. This was supposed to be a serious moment of her, a revelation of what she found out about her father. But it was hilarious. It was completely ridiculously funny.
Well, yeah. Because my mom is sitting there and she's like, you're telling me she didn't think to Google her father before then? Really? And I'm like, well, she's like some sort of shut-in homeschooler kind of kid.
Uh-huh.
She's got this genetic disorder. She never gets to go outside. And it's like, but still, I mean, oh my God.
It was so ridiculous. I give Brent Spiner credit. Between the car scene and this, he was given material. He was told, hey, ham it up. Maybe he wasn't told. He just did it. So he did. Honestly, for those scenes, I could recommend the running over Picard scene and the revelation of what her dad is and all those experiments. I would recommend you find on YouTube, find those scenes. Look at them as I was told this was hilarious. Now, the Agnes singing scene, that is not hilarious. That's just embarrassing. But the other 2, they're worth watching if you want to laugh. It's like somebody made an asylum version of what Star Trek could be, and they just made this. And it was funny. I mean, I will probably go back and watch those scenes again because I laughed hard the first time. I was waiting for Brent Spiner to be back on the screen so I could see what other messed up stuff he was going to do.
Yeah. Brent Spiner is really the highlight of all of this.
Yep.
It's because he's such a great actor. Thank God for actors like him because they can take a really stupid story and make it almost worth watching.
He wasn't giving it any sort of dramatic weight. He gave it such comic relief. It was worth watching just for the comic relief.
It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Spiner, credit to him, even in this shit story.
Maybe he knew
shines.
It was so bad. He's like, this is the only way I can make this work. And if that's the case, he found the one way to make that work.
Yeah. Love Brent Spiner. Thank God for him. So I don't really know that I have much else to say about this episode. It felt like a hodgepodge of ideas stolen from better properties yet again.
Well, at the end, Agnes was kind of walking out into the street with, she was walking away from the camera. I guess they were trying to imply that her adventure is just beginning. I think maybe, and again, I don't know this, maybe we're getting ready to go down such a ridiculous path. Maybe the last few episodes of this are going to be enjoyable by how stupid they are. Yep. In a very Asylum B-movie type way.
Well, I'm hoping that this actually gives that actress who plays Agnes an opportunity to do what Brent Spiner has just done.
Just ham it up.
Yeah, because
you can't fix this with drama, so just ham it up.
That character that they've had her playing until now has just been awful. I don't think it showcases what she can do as an actress. At least I hope that's the case. So we'll see where things go with her.
This is not Star Trek. They've made it very clear they are not making a Star Trek series.
No.
They're making a mixture of Battlestar Galactica combined with a bunch of other stuff in this season.
Yep.
And you are not going to watch Star Trek when you watch this. However, I'm starting to wonder now, this was kind of like how I was feeling in the first 2 episodes. If they continue down this cheese path, I will say it's still bad television and it's not Star Trek, but I will laugh my ass off. At least it'll reach a point where I can laugh at it.
Yep.
So I am looking forward to next week to see when they go inside the Picard and his underground. If they go full cheese ridiculous on that, it may not be good Star Trek, but I still might enjoy the hell out of it.
Yep. Yeah. Better shows. Season 1 of Doom Patrol and the entirety of the Venture Brothers.
Yep.
So,
well, and even Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica had good and bad parts, so you'd be better served watching that if you enjoy the Borg Queen and Agnes's interaction, because that's where it was stolen from.
Yeah, it certainly was. Anyway, this show sucks.
It sucks. This show sucks. It's lost any grip on reality, any attempt at telling a good drama, a good science fiction story went out the window with this episode. They are in farce land now. All I can hope is we see more Brent Spiner, and I hope he hams up what he's doing, because I will admit I enjoyed him hamming it up. It was some horrible Star Trek, but when I'm sitting here having to watch this garbage and there's no joy at all with these things, getting that scene where he runs over Picard and then later he just talks about all these people he's killed in his experiments, just getting those moments at least made all this garbage I was watching somewhat worth it. And it's embarrassing that this is the only value that you can get from this series, is laughing at it, because that's the only value here, is laughing at it.
It's a shame. It really is. Anyway, if you have anything to say about this episode, we would love to hear it, because oftentimes you guys point out things that we miss, and you have some interesting takes. So like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about us. We're almost caught up, so I guess we now have to watch the next episode and get that up, and then we will finally be caught up. Yep. So thanks for being patient. Hopefully in a few days we'll have the next episode up.
Take care.